Hello, and thank you for joining me again today on the Finding Hope After Loss podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. If you like the show, please leave a review or rating on Apple or Spotify. It only takes a moment and really helps the show reach more loss and infertility families. Just a reminder that you still have time to include your baby in the bereaved parents special post for July. You can always email me your baby's name at sarah@journeyforjasmine.com, or you can reach out to me on any of my social media accounts at journeyforjasmine. Today I am talking with Anne Marie. She went through 3 neonatal losses of her son and her 2 daughters. Her last pregnancy, she was diagnosed with preeclampsia. She shares her experience going through all 3 losses, along with her experience dealing with the preeclampsia both during the pregnancy and for 5 weeks postpartum. Hello, everyone. Today I am here with Anne Marie. Anne Marie, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I am, as you know, Anne Marie. I currently live in Gibraltar, which, if anyone is not too sure, it's south of Spain, but originally from the UK. And I moved to Gibraltar coming up 13 years now.
Wow. Do you like it there?
Love it. It's a place, it's a bit like Marmite. You either love it or you hate it. And I actually love it here.
I've
It's
never had
lovely.
a chance to visit that part of the world, so.
Oh, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. And we have amazing weather over here. And if you need to get out in the country, you kind of just got to drive about 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and then you're in the countryside. So it's quite nice.
Yeah, that sounds nice. It sounds like you have like a little bit of everything, just like right
Yeah,
there.
absolutely. I try to have a nice work-life balance.
What do you do for a living?
I actually own a beauty salon and a beauty academy. So I've been in the beauty industry for just over 20 years now. And I decided when we had lockdown back in 2020, I decided to qualify to be a qualified teacher so I can teach beauty to potential students. So that's my main focus at the minute.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for you. That's hard work.
Oh, it is, but it's very, very rewarding, especially when you've got students and you can see them progressing, and you just think, oh my God, this is like it's like my little baby, like is now growing into something amazing. So it's very rewarding.
Yeah, I love that you were able to do that too, because yeah, COVID, yeah, definitely took a hit on a lot of industries and
It did, and teaching, being a mentor was never in my agenda. It was never something I was actually looking into doing. It was just that I had a lot of people messaging me asking if I was going to do courses, beauty courses, and I was like, well, if people are asking for it, then I'll have a look into becoming a qualified teacher. So, and that's what I did, and I thought, well, got nothing else to do, start at home. So I
yeah,
may as
that
well
is
keep.
a good time to like, I feel like a lot of us picked up like a new skill or something that's like,
Oh,
wow, we just have all this
absolutely.
time and nothing to do.
Absolutely. You're never going to get this time again. So maybe may as well make the most of it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm glad that you were able to find that path then.
Yes.
So, do you mind talking a little bit about your last story?
Yes. So I've had 3 baby losses. Um, first 2 were both in the second trimester. The first one at 25 weeks, second one at 22 weeks. And both times my body just went into natural labor. The first time we would just put it down to one of those things. We never really looked into it. It's never been something within my family. So yeah, so there was just no reason, and we didn't really look into it. Um, but he survived. It was a little boy, and he survived for 5 days. He just got poorly. He got a bleed on the brain. So he was born on a Wednesday, and Thursday afternoon we got told he does have a bleed, and we have to be transferred to a specialised hospital because of how small he was. yeah, so that's what we ended up doing. And then the bleed eventually stopped, but it left him brain damaged. There was no brain activity. So we made the very difficult decision to turn his life support machine off, and it was tough. And I was only, I was 23 at the time, so completely like unaware of premature births, not let alone premature baby deaths. So yes, that was really, really tough. But we did have, I suppose you could call it a magical moment. There's a film called Ghost with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore, and at the end of Ghost, at the very last scene, the light comes down and Patrick Swayze, well, Sam, his character, is blowed up. We had a very similar experience when Jay passed away. We were in a little cubicle, had a tiny window, and I was holding him, and we just had this beam of light, and it lasted for about 5, maybe 7 seconds. It didn't last very long. And I just remember saying, that's a scene out of Ghost. And I said, there you go, he's gone. He's now gone. And the doctor came in and said, yeah. But I'll always remember that moment. It was a very magical moment. It was very special, very intimate moment. And that will always stay with me for a very long time. And then with my second, I fell pregnant, I think it was about just over a year later. That one was planned. First one was not planned at all. Second one was actually planned. And yeah, the pregnancy was going fine. We just moved into a new apartment, and then I felt wet. I was like, and my husband and his mates, because we were just moved in, I like to clean everywhere, but I obviously couldn't. They were being a bit more cautious with me this time, the second time round, but not overly cautious. But there was a few things I couldn't do, and cleaning products was one of them. I couldn't be around them too long. And so they were all taking the mick out of me, saying, "Oh, you're pregnant, and now you're incontinent, and all this." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know, right?" And then I'm not too sure exactly that was it. So you get the show, what they call the show. It's just like a mucous membrane. I never had that with the first one, so I had no idea what it was, and no one really spoke to me about that this could happen before you give birth. So off to the hospital I went, and they told me that my waters were leaking and that I had the show and that they had to remit me. So I was like, okay, I'm 22 weeks at this stage. So you have all the doctors come in and they tell you, like I did with my first one, they tell you what's going to happen. And unlike the first one, where they said they would do everything in their power to keep our baby alive, this time they said because of how young she is, if she is born, they're just going to let nature take its course. Well, of course, when you hear that, I wasn't in labour at that time, but when you hear that, you think, nah, she's going to stay in a bit longer. Even if I have to be on bed rest, she's going to stay in there. Well, I think it was about, I'd say maybe 5 hours, maybe 6 hours later, then my contraction started. And it was tough. It was that labour was really tough because I knew what was going to happen, and it was difficult. So I didn't. Well, basically, I try not to push, which obviously your body is naturally wanting to take the baby out, and you're trying to force it to stay in. And after she passed away, she only lived for a few hours. And I think with that, after her passing, that's when I really kind of understood depression. because I've never really suffered with it before. Well, I suffered a slightly, I would say, very mild case of it with the first one, but this one was severe. Like, I was completely in denial that anything had happened. I was very angry. I was really, really angry. I wasn't a nice person to be around. It must have been hard for people around me to say, stop, like, listen to yourself, listen to what you're going through, listen to what you're saying. It was very hard. And it was Christmas of 2020, no, it was 2012. And that's when it sunk in. I remember my husband and my sister, they sat me down and they said, you need to get help, because if you don't get help, you're not going to be here, because I was just so angry. I was so angry. So I sought help. This was like 8 months after she passed, and I finally got help. I remember it was the 28th of December 2012, and I said, this day is the first day of me trying to get me back, because I completely and utterly lost myself. So yeah, it took probably about another 2 years. 2 years before I felt like me again, with extensive therapy, talking to my husband a lot. Luckily we're really, really strong, and we're able to talk it through and talk everything through and talk feelings through and everything. So and then I was like, no, I'm not getting pregnant again. That's it. It's happened twice. Can't do it again. Don't want to do it again. And then my husband shared his passion that he wanted to try again about we would say about this time last year, maybe the summer. And I was just like, no. So now we've jumped about almost 11 years. Last year it was. And yeah, I was just very adamant that it wasn't going to happen. I was going through quite a bit of a stressful time with work and everything. I was changing my work, the salon. I was changing the salon. I was moving premises, so it was quite a stressful time. So I didn't thinking about starting a family again was not in my agenda. And then came February of this year, and it was a Saturday night, and we were talking, and he just came out of it. It was just like, I really want to try again. And I thought, well, it's been 11 years now. Things have probably moved on and progressed. Okay, let's try. Not realizing at that time I was already pregnant. I just didn't know about it. So I was 7 weeks. I was 7 weeks pregnant when I found out, and I only did the test because we were going away that weekend, and my husband kept saying to me, I wish your period would come, because you are so snappy. Your emotions are all over the place, and it just needs to come. And I said, I bet you it'll come at the weekend when we're away. And I was in a chemist, and I just thought, I was going to pick one up just to rule it out, because I didn't think for 1 minute I would be. And I did the test at work, put it down, got myself ready for my client. She was due in 10 minutes. Looked at the test and almost died. I almost dropped to the floor. I was like, came out positive, and I was like, oh my days. I was happy. I was really happy about it. It was just a bit of a shock when you're kind of not expecting it. Like, I just didn't think. I didn't think. So we didn't really tell anybody for that weekend, because it was just quite nice just to have just to get our head around things. And like, I said from the minute I told my husband that fate has now been decided, whatever will be in this pregnancy will be, like, we just got to roll with it. And then so I called the doctors. I explained what had happened in my last 2 pregnancies. So they got an appointment with the midwife really quickly. And I'm a bit of a fitness freak. I like going to the gym. I like working out. And one of the first things she said to me was just like, you can't do anything high intensity. And I'm like, no. I was just like, that's like one of my favorite exercises to do is high intensity workouts. And then the psychological things, like your body changing, like it changes so much so quickly. And like, I'm not allowed to do this, I can't do that. I was being extremely careful what I was eating. I was under consultant's care from I think it was 8 weeks or 9 weeks. I was under consultant's care. I was getting checked for the first up until 14 weeks. I was getting checked every 3 weeks. After 14 weeks, it was every 2 weeks. I was getting scanned. And one of the scans they picked up, which I think it was, how old was that? How many weeks was that? I think I was almost 23 weeks. Up until that point, everything was going absolutely fine. We found out we were having a little girl. My husband was so excited when we found out we were having a girl. He named her. He'd already got designs for the nursery because it just felt different this time. People were listening to me when I said, when I'm scared, I'm like, these things, I need to get checked. And yeah, it just felt different this time. I was on a lot of medication because we still don't know the reasons why. They were just giving me everything they could possibly give me at the time, in hope the pregnancy would continue. The last thing which they were checking was having a surgical stitch, which is just like a little stitch that goes onto your cervix. And then I think it was around about 36 or 37 weeks, they said they were going to unstitch it. And then at that time, you could go into labour at any time if that's the case, if it's a weak cervix. So, but we were just trying to hang on as long as possible to do that. So we're at 22, almost 23 weeks. They picked up this a shadow on her heart. So that was like our first kind of knock that we had. Okay, like we got sent to Malaga, which is over in Spain. And we went to a heart specialist and they checked over our heart. And I said, I don't mind if you don't tell me what's going on, but can you just tell me if her heart's okay? They said, yeah, from what they've said, from what they can see, her heart's working fine. But it was my blood pressure. But they wasn't very concerned. So my blood pressure when I walked in, when I got there and they took it, it was 170 over 110. I thought, wow, that's really high, because out of the whole time, my blood pressure has been normal. And I was like, wow, that's really high. And they said, yeah, it is. And I said, well, maybe it's the stress of just disappointment. I said, because it is. It's a stressful time when you get told that your baby's got a shadow on the heart. But she said it was high, but she wasn't concerned. So I thought, okay, I'm not going to be concerned. So that was the Thursday, and then had the weekend, and then I was going to see my consultant to discuss that the report from the scan on the Tuesday. And I remember waking up on the Tuesday, and I was so tired. I was so tired. So I moved a couple of my clients to the following day, and I had a couple of clients that were going on holiday, and I thought, I can't cancel their holiday treatments. That's just really mean of me. So I went in, and then I was finishing after this, because then I had the consultant appointment at the hospital. And I was walking down and I was like, I just can't wait to go home and just go to sleep. I'm so tired. My consultant, he always runs late, so it was half an hour late on that particular day. And I was just like, just in the waiting room thinking, all I want to do, if someone gives me a pillow and a blanket, I'm off to sleep. Anyway, so got called in and the blood pressure machine was behind me. And he took, as always, the nurse came in and she took my blood pressure, and the consultant was talking to me. And then he looked up and I didn't see what was going on behind me. I just saw his reaction on his face. And they said, what's wrong? He said, your blood pressure's high. But okay, he goes, we're going to check it in 5 minutes. Mind you, I'd been sat outside for half an hour. So we're like, right, checked it. And it was still high. So he admitted me upstairs to maternity. Now, the only symptom I had at this point on that day was the tiredness. I walked up 2 floors, went to maternity. They checked my blood pressure, and then the next thing, I have 6 people came rushing in the room, which it freaked me out. And then that's when I got upset, because I'm like, what's going on? Like, you're all telling me my blood pressure's high, but no one's actually telling me how high it is. Well, I had this lovely she was a trainee midwife, and she was doing some work experience in the local hospital. And so she was with me the whole time I was in the local hospital. So I asked her, I said to her, "What can you tell me what my blood pressure was?" She goes, "When we came in, it was 197." And I'm like, "Oh." And she goes, "Yeah, when we've just taken it, it went up to 208." And I'm like, "Okay then." I'm like, "Oh my goodness, that's really, really high." So doctor comes in and he's asking me, do I have like my chest pain? I said, yeah. So it's like it's like where your bra would sit, like where it meets in the middle. I said, yeah, I've had indigestion for the past like week to 10 days. He goes, okay, you got any blurred vision? I said, no. And any headaches? I said, no, not at the minute. Well, I said, I've had on and off headaches, but nothing that I just thought I was just dehydrated. I said, the only other thing that I do have, I said, I can't get hydrated. I'm drinking 3 litres of water a day over the weekend, and I can't get hydrated. So he was like, okay. He goes, well, we're going to admit you up to Malaga Hospital. So I was like, okay. Not realising. So at that point, I've been now diagnosed with hypertension, not really kind of understanding what it actually is. Hypertension is just before you get to preeclampsia. Same with it's within the preeclampsia family. And I just remember messaging my husband. I was like, just to let you know that I'm going to be staying overnight. Just pack me an overnight bag. Not realising 2 weeks later, I actually will return home. So off I went up in the ambulance to Malaga, and got there, and then they scanned me, and she was saying, "Oh, your baby's measuring small." And I said, yeah, I've been told that. Now, for me, that wasn't a massive concern, because my mum had four of us, and we were all small babies. So I wasn't massively concerned about that. And then she goes, no, it's measuring, she's measuring 2 weeks under to what she should be. I'm like, okay, well, I must eat more then. That's what was just going through my head. I was like, okay, I'll just eat more. And then I was put down in ICU, sorry. And then that was it. Then it was just a case of trying to get this blood pressure sorted, and trying to keep me well, and trying to keep the baby in as long as possible. I'm completely like bedridden. Like, I couldn't get out of bed. I was tied to all sorts of different machines and everything. So yeah, and then I moved up to maternity on the Friday. So I got admitted on the Tuesday. On the Friday, went up to maternity, and that's when my husband could actually stay, because when you're in intensive care, you can't have anybody to stay with you. So, which was nice because I just thought I just need to see a friendly face. But I remember on the Saturday, my face just started. Well, I noticed my face was just started going really round. I was like, I feel really like swollen. I was like, oh, maybe, and then here's me thinking, oh, maybe it's because I'm not moving. That's why I'm just drinking all this water. I'm getting all this fluid pumped inside me, and I'm not walking around. I'm not sweating it off or anything. And then the headaches. So at that point, I already started having the headaches. So I was on medication. I was on paracetamol for the headaches. On the Sunday, my husband leaves, and then he leaves the hospital. And it was, I would say, probably late on the Sunday into Monday, the headache and the pain of the swelling got really bad. I think it was like 4 a.m. and I ended up having to buzz through because I couldn't get back off to sleep because I was in that much pain. And then it kind of just went downhill from after that. I couldn't be on my phone. So no one had any kind of contact for me from 6:30 in the morning. My head was just the pain, and it wasn't just in the head anymore. It was down the side of my face. It was down the back of my neck. My whole body was hurting from the swelling. And I just remember saying to him, I need something stronger for this pain. Well, within 4 hours of having the first paracetamol so this, I think it was about 8 o'clock in the morning, the doctor came in and goes, we can't give you anything at the minute because you've had all your pain relief you can at this point. So they took me back down to ICU, sorry. And at that point, I'm like, I can't open my eyes because it hurts. I'm curled up in a ball because I'm feeling in pain, and I'm trying to keep this baby inside me. And I remember I had a liaison officer that came and saw me, and my sister. So I'm very close to my youngest sister, and because I hadn't contacted her for such a long time, she contacted the hospital, but because she wasn't my next of kin, no one could tell her anything. So I was like, yeah, tell her everything. Just tell her whatever you need to tell her. And I would say a few hours have passed. It might not have been. I can't remember because, like I said, I completely lost track of time. And I just remember the doctor came in and she said to me, she's like, the decision's been taken out of your hands. We have to do emergency cesarean section. And I'm saying, you can't because my husband's not here. And she was like, we have to go. And I was just like, when are we doing it? And as I'm saying that, they're transferring me onto the trolley. And my husband he missed me by 2 minutes. But in the following day, so she was born and she was born crying. So that was amazing. Perfect little thing. She only weighed 500 grams. She was very active. She was always active when I was carrying her, but she was very active when she came out. And then so that was the Monday, and then Tuesday I managed to get to see her, and my blood pressure is still going. It's crazy. Luckily, the headache was subsiding. It was still there, but it was manageable for me to actually do things. And then by the Wednesday, they removed the catheter. So I had a catheter in for just over a week, and they removed it. So I was like, thank God for that. I could actually get out of bed. Well, I think I just done too much. You know, sometimes when people say try to crawl before you can walk, well, I decided to sprint on that Wednesday, and my blood pressure went through the roof again, and then I was we're trying to imagine it, but I just did too much, and I realised when I was because I got sent back down, because I was constantly up and down between intensive care and maternity. And I remember when I went into intensive care again, and I was like, I've done too much today. I was like, I shouldn't have done the months, because I was trying also, I had the business to run, I had the salon. So I was just like, I literally just cancelled everybody, but I had to get somebody to replace me, because I didn't know at this point how long I was going to be in hospital for. Or even when I got discharged, I would still need to be up in Malaga because of Aya. So I remember on that Wednesday, I was working from intensive care, trying to sort something out. I had already been speaking to actually, it was one of my students that had literally she's only got a couple of courses left to do, but she's done all the ones that I needed her to do. So because I trained her, I knew she would be absolutely fine with my clients. So I was trying to sort that out as well. And so the next few days, it was just a case of me recovering. And I still had, so when you give birth, usually the preeclampsia it can go out of your system, it goes. But sometimes it stays, and then it's called eclampsia. And that's what I had. I had it for about 5 weeks, I think, after I had Aya. But obviously, the longer it's in your system, it can still attack your organs. It can attack your kidneys and your liver. But luckily, I've had all my tests come back and there's been no lasting damage, which has been incredible. So that was the next few days of trying to recover and trying to my milk came as well, which I was so happy about. And I managed to produce quite a lot. I was shocked, and so was the doctors actually, that I managed to produce such a large amount. And then Saturday she was day 5 at this point. So Saturday was a really, really good day. I was completely buzzing. Not only could I actually wash my hair and actually shower without no one being there, because my blood pressure was so up and down, anywhere that was hot, I had to have someone with me. So in the case if I had to shower, I had to have somebody with me. Saturday was a good day. I managed to shower, managed to wash my hair. It was great. And then, but Aya had a really good day as well. She put on, as most babies, they lose weight when they're born. So she lost a bit of weight, and then she put her weight back on by the Saturday. So Saturday she was back up to the weight that she was when she was born, which was incredible. They took her off of oxygen, so she was breathing by herself, which was incredible. But they already said to us that it's going to be 1 step forward, 2 steps back. So I was just like, yeah, totally get that. Like we're doing today, for me, I'm celebrating. We've had a really, really good day. It's completely and utterly buzzing. And it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. I got woken up, and for me, getting woken up when I was in hospital wasn't unusual, because I always had to take medication throughout the night, and if no one came in and gave it to me, then I had an alarm set for me to remind myself to take it. So about 1 o'clock in the morning, and the paediatrician came in, and she says that Aya was struggling a little bit with her breathing. Her lung isn't working properly, so we've put her back on oxygen, and we've got something there to help her with her lungs. So I was like, that's fine, that's totally fine. Like you told me earlier on in the day that this could happen. Fine. And in the morning, I went to Express, and I barely got anything out. And I was just like, this is really weird, considering I was so full and I literally gushing out, and now I'm not getting anything. And I was on the phone to my husband. I was just like, something's not right. Like, yeah, something's not right. I don't know why I've not produced had any milk today. And I kept asking to see her, to see Aya throughout the day, and they kept saying, not at the minute, not at the minute. We'll come and get you when we can. And I'd gone practically the whole day. It was about 4:00 in the afternoon at this point, and I was just like, something wasn't settling, but my headache started coming back. And so I thought, right, I'm going to go and try and have a little snooze to see if I can shift the headache. And one of the midwives, one of the nurses, should I say, came in, flying into the room and asked me if I was on my own. I said yes. And she said, "Doctor wants to speak to you." Well, I've never jumped off that bed, considering it's been 6 days since I had my cesarean section. I've never jumped off that bed quickly as anything. I literally grabbed my phone, my mask, and some shoes, and then I went straight. It was where I was to where she was. It wasn't that far, but in between us, we had 2 doors, and one of them was coded, so it wasn't very easy for me to get to her. And I remember walking in the NICU unit and seeing there was 3 nurses outside her room, 3 nurses and a doctor around her incubator. And first thing, I was just like, what's going on? So the doctor sits me down and he's like, she's very poorly. Her lungs aren't working properly, and we're doing everything we can, but I don't think you should be on your own. Do you want to go back to your room, or do you want to sit here? And I was like, oh, I'm sitting right here. Like, give me a chair, because I ain't going anywhere. And then I told my husband, I was like, you need to come up, and you need to come up like now, like come up now. So we have a dog, so we have to drop her off. And he dropped her off. He told me it was an hour and 40 minutes. It's going to take him an hour and 40 minutes. I said, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. And then 5 minutes later, she passed away. And it was, again, really. And you could see by the doctor, was completely devastated. You could see he worked really hard to keep her here, and you could just see it on his face. And it must have been really hard for him to be able to not get a good outcome on that. He did, like I said, he'd done everything he could. So I stayed with her for a little bit, but I was dying for the toilet. I thought I should have gone before I when I got into NICU. So I put her back, I wrapped her back up, and I put her back into her incubator. Now, over in Spain, they speak Spanish. Now, I don't really speak Spanish. I understand it, but I can't speak it greatly. This is a classic of getting lost in translation. So I've just come out of the bathroom, and I've got 2 midwives. They were there. They needed to take my blood pressure, and I was like, there's no point, because it's going to be high. Anyway, they had to take it. And then, so I thought she said, do you want a shot? And I'm thinking, oh yes, I want a shot. And then I heard tequila, and I was like, don't really drink tequila, but I'll have a tequila, please. Well, honestly, she must have thought I was so enthusiastic. I was like, I hadn't had a drink in months. I've just lost my daughter. I was like, yes. She comes in with a cup of tea, and I was just like, she must have thought I was so enthusiastic on this tea. Well, it was a calming tea. That's what she was trying to ask, if I wanted a calming tea. So I just thought, oh my goodness, that she must have thought I was absolutely bonkers. So off I went. I had like a little balcony outside. So I took my tea and I just went outside on the balcony. I was chuckling to myself, because I was just like, you couldn't even write that. That was just hilarious. It was so funny. And then the following day, I do actually get discharged, because I kept saying, like, I don't want to be in the hospital anymore. I don't want to be here. The following day, they did ask me if I wanted to change wards, and I said, well, as crazy as it sounds, no, because even though the language barrier is hard, the the nurses and the midwives who don't really speak a lot of English, we do actually get by. And for me to then go on to another ward and start that again is going to be too much. But I did ask if I could be transferred back down to Gibraltar. Anyway, luckily, blood pressure came back down, and my bloods came back and they were okay. So they discharged me to continue treatment at home. And yeah, and that was in July, just gone. So it's only just been a few months, well, about 3 months now. So it's still very, very, very raw, and still processing all the emotions. It's finally now, it is still sinking in, but it's very much a real situation, and the preeclampsia is just something I just want to push a bit more, because I just feel there's, in the second trimester, there is barely any information, and it's so important. If anybody's like, I put all my symptoms down to just being pregnant and being in a hot country, with my swollen feet. I thought that was just, I get swollen feet anyway because I'm on my feet and it's hot, so I just stick them in cold water and elevate them up, and that's it. And it's just crazy that there isn't a huge amount of information to know about it. So when I got back down to Gib, and I went to see the doctor who admitted me to Malaga, and he's one of the first things he said to me is, "Thank goodness you're still here." And then he said to me, in the 29 years or 39 years, I can't remember which one he said, he's never seen anybody walk in and be talking with a blood pressure that high. And I was just like, oh, okay. He goes, at least you would have had is a stroke or a seizure. But if you didn't come in when you did, then you could have passed away in your sleep. So that was like a big hit. And then he says, from the report that I've been reading, it looks like you came very, very close to dying. I said, well, yeah, the following day, the doctor did tell me if they waited even another 10 minutes, I could have died. And it got that serious. And the doctor kept using my case. He kept calling it severe. And I said to him, stop using severe, because that's real strong, bold words. But he was like, you need to understand that it was really serious what you had, and it's very serious, and you could have died. So I went home after that. I just sat on my sofa and I said to my husband, I feel very, very lucky to have cheated death twice in 2 weeks, well, in a week, because if I didn't have that appointment, I could have passed away in my sleep. And if they didn't take Aya out when they did, both of us wouldn't be here now. So as much as it is a very sad situation, I'm very, very happy to be still alive and to be able to talk and have no lasting damage of preeclampsia. So yes, that's my story.
Yeah, you've been through definitely a lot.
I know.
So before you were diagnosed with preeclampsia, had you ever heard of it before?
I heard about it, but I didn't think it was that serious. I didn't really know much about it. It was just one of those things that you heard, but no one really told you about it, about the symptoms to look out for, or anything really. So no, it's crazy. It's crazy on how serious it is, and there isn't enough information out there until you don't get told about it.
Yeah, definitely. I think that they tell you, that it's high blood pressure, but like most people aren't monitoring their blood pressure at home, and they don't know like the other things that they should be looking out for as well. You just think it's high blood pressure. Okay, like the
Yeah,
doctor's monitoring me, that's all.
I know, it's crazy. But there is me and another lady were doing a bit of a campaign at the minute, to get this recognised in the hospital. And something so I have an Instagram page because my last 2 pregnancies, I never really documented it, didn't really took pictures, but not a huge amount of pictures. This time, because I knew this was going to be my last one, I wasn't going to have any more. I set up an Instagram page and documented like my whole pregnancy and while I was in hospital. We never announced her birth just because I was so poorly, but I did say that we'll have to put something out on social media because I was getting asked about it. But as soon as when I was well enough, I was just like, no, people need to know about this, and you need to look out for the symptoms and not just put it down to it's because I'm pregnant. If anyone has any kind of symptoms at all, it's just go straight to the hospital and your midwife. And we're really lucky here. We have the most amazing midwives, and nothing is ever too much trouble for them, which is incredible. So yeah, I always say to people, all my pregnancy friends, look out for the signs because it's a killer.
Yeah, and I mean, as you know, it can literally save your
Mm-hmm.
life
Yeah.
to know what to look for. And
Mm-hmm.
here, I think a lot of people in the US are afraid to go because they don't want to, bother the doctor or like ask questions or things like that. And I'm like, it's okay. Like that's what they're there for. Like,
Exactly what they're there for. Yeah, for sure.
and so you never got a reason as to why you had your first 2 losses?
No, we never really got a reason. They think it could be a weak cervix. They think it could be a lack in hormone, but there was no actual reason. So I was on hormone. I was on hormone suppositories and cream. I was on something else as well. I can't remember what it was. There was 3 different things I had to take. Um, and then the last one was the stitch, to keep, if it was a weak cervix, it just keeps the baby in, because then they take the stitch out around 36-37 weeks. So yeah,
So they just kind of threw everything at it to
they
try to
did.
help.
They did, yeah, because like I said, we didn't know. So I was just like, my main concern is obviously I don't want this to happen again. So um, and yeah, and then we just preeclampsia decided to get in the way this time.
Like, really? But it sounds
Yeah,
like despite everything, I mean, like throughout it all, that you had good medical care.
yeah,
You
yeah.
felt like the doctors were supportive.
This time round, yes, for sure. I had a lot of support, not just from the doctors, from the midwives as well. Um, yeah, it was, and everyone listened. People listened, to say, look, this is how I'm feeling. Like, don't. And I remember one of my consultant appointments, and he said to me, he goes, I don't want you to lose this baby just as much as you don't want you to lose this baby. And I was just like, oh my God, they're going to make me cry. I was just like, don't say that to me. So yeah, so they were hoping that this would have a happier outcome, is just as much as what we wanted.
And was it hard, like you living in another country from where you were born? Like, are you away from all family and friends, or do you have people there?
I don't have my family. I have my husband's family here. So in Gibraltar, obviously, we speak English. Over Spain, it's Spanish. So I did have a tougher time trying to um, communicate with some of the doctors, because not everyone spoke English either. So it was a lot of things got lost in translation. So it was quite tricky. And luckily, I have a really good app on my phone, so I was using that as well. And with this particular app, you can write and you can talk as well. So if I needed to get stuff out quickly, I could just talk into it. Because sometimes with me, my brain is like 3 steps in forward than what my fingers are. So sometimes I don't actually type everything that I wanted to, because I've already thought about it and I haven't actually typed it. So it was a handy little app that I had to communicate with any doctors that didn't speak English.
Yeah, that definitely does add a whole other like layer to it when you like can't communicate. So
Yeah,
that's cool that that app is available.
yeah, absolutely.
So is there any like advice you would offer people who are going through loss?
um, talk about it. Um, talk to your husband, your partner. Talk to them because they're also going through it too. Um, I'm like I said, me and my husband were so close when it comes to this subject, and we're a close couple anyway. Um, and yeah, just and be kind to yourself. Like it's okay to have, I wouldn't say nasty thoughts, but negative thoughts about your body, because obviously for me it was my third time, and yeah, my body failed me, and it's and I get days where I have negative thoughts about my body because of it, but it also it carried our baby for 25 weeks. So I also, and I know my husband, he said to me, stop being so hard on yourself. But I think for me this time around, I just wanted to get back to my normal life, like going back to the gym and doing my high intensity workouts and going for longer walks and everything like that. So I just wanted to get back to that, and obviously couldn't because after having a C-section, for the first few weeks, you are quite immobile. You've got to be very, very careful not to open up the scar. So I had a very close friend of mine. Her scar it's taken a long time to heal because she got back, tried to do things too quickly, and it just opened up. And with that, she's got an infection. Well, she's had infections with it. So it's very, very. You just got to be kinder to yourself.
I found that very hard after loss too. I mean, I didn't have the C-section part, but I still, still went through birth, so still had to
Yeah.
wait for my body to heal. And I was really mad about it. I'm like, I don't want to give it time to heal. I just want to go back to the way things were.
You just want to get back to normality. And yeah, and sometimes your body was just like, no, hang on a second, you can't. You need to slow down.
I know
Um,
it's hard to, take that time and remind yourself that, okay, I did go through birth. I can't just, do what I was doing. And even though I
no,
didn't get to bring the baby home, like the body still has to recover, even though we don't want to give it that time.
God, yeah, and so obviously you have everything after the birth. You have all like your hormones all over the place. You still look pregnant. Your boobs might be still leaking. Luckily, I took some tablets. They gave me some tablets to stop to dry up my milk. But you're going home. You still look pregnant. You've got no baby. And then I remember leaving the hospital, and my arms were black and blue from all the needles I was having. Everything, it was just my whole arms were black and blue, and my stomach was bruised as well, because when you have a C-section, you've got to have injections every day for 7 days to, I think it's either to strengthen up your stomach lining, or it's to make sure it all goes back to normal. I can't remember what she said. So I still look pregnant. I'm black and blue. I have now a scar, but I'm going home with no baby, and that was very tough. That was tough to get into the lift to go out of the hospital, um, and yeah, and it is. It's very tough.
I feel like these are all the things that people don't talk about, I mean, they think, oh, like, okay, yes, it's sad that you've lost a baby, but people don't understand the other effects it has on us.
Absolutely, um, and it's crazy on how people, when you see them in the street, and it's like, do we talk about it? Do we not speak about it? Like, shall I ask you? And I was just like, look. And usually, if that was that situation, I then will say something because I don't like awkwardness.
Right.
Um, but people do change. People do change on how they speak to you. And sometimes it's annoying because it's like, I'm still freaking human. Yes, I've just gone through a losing my baby, but I'm still human. I'm still me. Don't treat me like I'm whatever. It's just
You're like, I'm not contagious. I'm not like,
yeah.
you can't catch something from me. So
Yeah,
like,
you
just
really
be
can't.
normal. Stop being weird.
Yeah, just be normal, just like nothing happens.
So is there anything else that you'd like to share or add?
No, I think that's it. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Anne-Marie, for sharing your story with us. It was actually Preeclampsia Awareness Day just a few days ago. If you're not familiar, preeclampsia is a condition that's usually diagnosed through high blood pressure readings or through protein in the urine. If it is not treated, it can lead to serious complications, which can include seizure, stroke, organ failure, or even possibly death of the mother and or the baby. Preeclampsia is estimated to occur in around 5 to 8% of all pregnancies. The bottom line is that your provider needs to be monitoring you for any early signs that you are developing preeclampsia, and they must take all necessary precautions immediately. If you feel you are dealing with this, make sure your doctor does take it seriously to avoid any unnecessary complications. The more we learn about things like this and the signs to look out for, the more we can empower ourselves during our pregnancy journey. Have you dealt with preeclampsia? What was your experience like? You can email me at sarah@journeyforjasmine.com or reach out through my social media at Journey for Jasmine. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. If you like the show, please leave a review or rating on Apple or Spotify. It only takes a moment and really helps the show reach more loss and infertility families. Thank you so much for tuning in, and remember, we are all in this together.